Okay, we will call this regular council meeting to order for Monday, May 27th. It's 3 p.m. and I'll ask Councillor Harrison to please do the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. The town of Innisfil acknowledges that we are meeting in Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kenai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge that many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived on and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Council, under 6.3, the dolphin support request, which you looked at last week at AMP. Follow-up, and then correspondence, Pride, Innisfil Pride request for proclamation.
Right, thank you. Could I please have someone adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried.
Mayor Barclay, I'll move those minutes.
Going to the agenda priorities meeting for May 21st. Councillor Bates.
Yes, I'll move those minutes.
Council, for your consideration, CAO reports there for your review, and any other questions you may have regarding operations or administration. I'll leave it for you.
Okay, thank you, CEO Becker. Does anybody have any questions? If not, please have someone make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I move that Council approves the Chief Administrative Officer report dated May 27th, 2024 as information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And we will move into the Council Action Control 4.2. Councillor Heistad.
You know what, maybe it was just me glancing over to, I thought we had one in there about pools. We're going to check out different rec facilities. Did I miss that in that? Is it in there? Okay, I'm losing my mind then. Oh, there it is right in front of my face. So June 2024, okay. No, I'll make a motion to accept this, just to get this on the table. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any discussion? No, all in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. And we will move into 5.1, bike park facility with Director Kennedy.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. So back in front to you from last week there in regards to the bike park facility master plan. So last week we did hear from Tammy Thompson, the president of the Innisfil Rotary Club, who presented some information on a partnership opportunity to develop a bike park facility within the town of Innisfil. One of the notes we've taken from there is, if approved, the Rotary Club will look into available grant opportunities as they were unknown at this time. Just a bit more background just from last week. On April 9th, we did meet with Hoots Limited and the Rotary Club just to talk about some of the things that they've done in the past, working on a number of projects throughout Canada, including pump tracks, bike parks, multi-use trails. They do work collaboratively with communities, riders, clubs, partners, and public agencies to provide meaningful and exciting recreation opportunities to accommodate wide ranges of rider levels, abilities, and user groups. Upon review of the opportunities we would look within the old bike park and to see what steps could be developed for the facility, what it might look like. The first phase would be to engage Hoot to collaborate with the town and Rotary Club to develop a vision and master plan that fits within the community's long-term plans, but is also compatible with the regional services that are available. This would also include a review of possible locations throughout town that would be suitable for a bike park facility, as well as integrating the trail master plan within their master plan. Initial consultations with Hoot was the master plan, and consultations would be in the $30,000 range. We are looking to fund that from the general operating reserve. We'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Director Kennedy. Could I please have someone make the motion, and we can open up for discussion? Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I move the council approves the development of a bike park plan facility master plan in the amount of $30,000 to be funded from the general operating reserve.
Okay, thank you. And any discussion on this? Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I do have a question through the director. So when I listened to the presentation last week, it was a little bit ambiguous to me that we were going to do the master plan and then take it. Is this potentially done in phases, or because what I understood was in the presentation it was that there would be a lump sum amount of money that would obviously then complete the project. Would this take it right to that point of that lump sum, or would there be further design and whatnot come after that? Or is there any phases in this where one of the things was to determine if even the project should be in Innisfail versus somewhere else? So would that be determined earlier, and then you wouldn't necessarily spend the whole 30,000 if it wasn't going to be here? Or, yeah, I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around start to finish of this $30,000 expenditure.
Yep, yep, so Councillor Bates. So the initial consultation would be with administration, the Rotary Club, and then look at the community itself. So we would have the consultant look at the community. Does it fit within the community? Do we have an appropriate area? We think we do with the old bike park, but maybe that's not the most suitable. So we'd look at that. So it would be a steps approach. So we'd look at that, find maybe a suitable location, look at what the options are on a high level, very high level. What is that? What do the other communities have to offer the town that we could share with? You know, pump tracks, bike parks, and then as well as look at our trail network. How does this tie into our trail network master plan? What does that do? So I guess it would be the first phase of what the potential park would look like. And then the next phase would be, how do we fund it? What does that look like? Does that need to go into phases where it's a small park first, bigger park second, and phase that out? So that would then show you all of those integrations into it. So I see that being that master plan, that big vision. What does that look like? And then from there, give us the steps.
So is there any chance that as they proceeded into this study, that they might get to a point where they said, we shouldn't have one, and then you don't necessarily do the rest of the study? Or this takes us right through to assuming that we're going to have one?
Assuming we're going to have one. I think what the consultation with the public will be is the public in favor of this? But the goal is to achieve a bike park facility within town. What it looks like, that's what we're trying to determine.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, it just, for me, when it came up, there's a number of things. It was the process piece. If I'm going to look at administration side of things, the comment that was made when when Tammy was presenting is, yeah, you guys were working on this. For me, it comes, you're going, okay, well, I didn't know this until last week. So on a process piece, it's, I'm wrapping my head, like, can any group come and present to you guys and say, we want to work on a bike track or something in our community? Because it takes time and money to build off that, right? That's number one. Number two is, my thought on with the $30,000, if we go ahead with this, is it hasn't been budgeted, right? So in my head, I'm going, 2025 out makes sense to me, but also my comments at the last meeting was, how do we fit this in with our big picture and our plans? And that's where I'm looking at it on an operational side or on a governance piece. For me, is I was like, shouldn't have this been giving us the heads up as to, hey, we're working on this with this group. What are your guys' thoughts on it? That's where my head was at, and that's where I'll direct it to Director Kennedy and CEO Becker. That's how I was thinking when it was presented to us. And I just want to create some dialogue so that we're working together on this, so that we're, that's how I'm seeing it.
I think it's a good question, Mayor Barclay, to Councillor Heistad. So process-wise, Rotary president approached me about meeting with administration about, do you think the town would wish to develop I'll call it a bike park, I'll just call it that. Stated perhaps, but it's council's call. And talking to the director is, let's just do some preliminary backup information to support council with a dialogue. And that's how that came in. That's all that's been done. The director, she developed, made contact, but not made any assumption that you'd want to do it. But it's just a partnership. So basically, we have an interested service club that wants to work with the town, perhaps to develop a bike park. So it's really in your hands if you wish to proceed in developing one or not, or delay. But I felt the director did the background information as per my direction to help you explore if this is something of interest or not.
Yeah.
We did not want to put in a position to kind of corner you that you're doing a bike park. That's the last thing we want to do. And hopefully that's not the perception that we've created, because that's not the intent.
Yeah, and that's why I want to ask the question on operational side of things, is because if anybody comes forward to you guys, like, that's where you guys have that discretion administratively to make that decision to get the information back to us, right? And that's why I was clarifying that as to, and we have the funds, correct? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming we do.
So just on the question, administration has a choice, don't really have a choice actually. So my job is to help with community partners get to you. So the Rotary came to me. So my job is to develop enough information to make their delegation successful to you. Very seldom, I don't think I've ever said no to a delegation. So I'm supporting the Rotary, supported by administration with background information to get you the information you need. But I do not really have a choice.
Okay.
It's not my filter. The filter is to get enough information to help you.
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting at, right? Like, you understand where, I think, and that's where I wasn't trying to be cheeky, but I was trying to be upfront on process and making sure that, I'm aware of how you position that, any work that's coming forward on behalf of the community. You know what, the big thing for me is, and what I was going to say to this group or our council is that, in my head when I was looking at this, I was looking at 2025 and how we plan our future layout and our recreation plan. That's how I was looking at this opportunity. As to the pump track and the opportunities, I was pretty upfront about, living in a province where we don't have, the weather, but also what I would like to see is if we do move forward this, and this is just me speaking on behalf of Jason here, is that, and the citizens as well, I want to learn more about what other tracks are out there and how can this not only, help or be of, what I'm trying to say is it's not only for young people. From what I was gathering from the presentation from Tammy and administration, it's for all individuals and bikes and trails and that. So, no, those are all the questions that I have before you. It was process. And, as CEO Becker was stating, is that it's, it's your call whether or not, and the filter, you're not a filter but you pass things on to us. So, no, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. And through to both CAO and the director, I guess. Thank you for sending me along and to all of council, the unfunded capital priority sheet that I had requested. I guess to maybe build a little bit on Councillor Heistad's comments, we have about $30 million worth of an unfunded priorities list that we have debated and discussed for as long as I've been on council, and I think even some of them were on this list before I got here. I think that presentations like this are helpful, they're interesting, but I don't believe that decisions to be made out of those out of contingencies or reserves around planning, master planning, I don't think it's appropriate. I think that's a budget conversation. We have $100,000 on our list now for the recreation and open space master plan. I think that this work could potentially fall under that category, but again, I'm not supportive of advancing this outside of our budget cycle, and would just like to see it come forward back to us in November. Thanks.
Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, and through to, I guess, CAO Becker. We had heard a comment around the public wants a bike park. I guess the question I have is, was that a formal feedback that we're getting, or is that just street talk that 2 or 3 residents have come and said, well, they'd like to have a bike park? That's my first question. And if we decide to go forth here, we certainly need a plan. All good things start somewhere. So I think that we need, the first thing is it really wanted? 5 people can make a lot of noise, and we at times have the tendency to cater to those 5%, and these are big budgeted items that, we're going into another election cycle, and when I look at the list that were sent out this morning, the unfunded liabilities are phenomenal. So I'll just leave it at that. So my question is to CAO Becker, was it formal feedback that's come back through surveys or through conversations with the public? Thank you.
Mayor Barclay to Councillor Harrison. I'd say more on unsolicited feedback from the community. About 4 years ago, we were approached by, I guess, kind of an offset of a regional bike club, so to speak, in the area, about potentially building a facility in Innisfail. That conversation didn't advance for different reasons. Administratively, so again, unsolicited, but administratively, we're seeing bike-related parts trending, as we see in other communities in Central Alberta. Again, it was presented to us by a Rotary Club, by a service club that wishes to partner with the community, with council, to explore the possibility. I think the master plan piece would help justify that. I would guess through a master plan that it would likely be popular, but you wouldn't know that until you do that master planning consultation in the community to really determine if that's what the community really wants.
Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Just a couple of pieces of feedback and just some observations on my part. Most sports have a limited window of time in Alberta. Hockey, we generally play during the winter unless you've got an arena that is all year long. Baseball, football, even the skate park has a limited window. So I feel that this fits in within those other sports that are in the area. We do have a lot of capital priorities, a few of which we've spoken more about than others, and I think are higher up on our priority list. But if you look at it and you look at, like, for example, number 13, 2029 arena rehab, we haven't even touched on that. We're talking maybe $250,000 in a partnership with another service club. For me, to get a really good sense, I would like to see it move forward. I'd like to see us spend the money to see where it fits in. If within the first few weeks, there's an opportunity for the discover that there is something within the region that would null and void any rational reason for us to have it, then let's maybe put something within it that we can end it there. But for me, I'd like to actually see a plan and see it become a part of our master plan. Like CO Becker said there, the feedback has been unsolicited, but as I mentioned last week, I've heard it over the last few years of interest in it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dunham. Councillor Bates?
I guess the only further question I have is, so if we were to approve it now, when would this projected to be done? The plan, the bike?
We don't have any set timelines yet, so I'll have to come back to you once I get a timeline.
No, but I mean,
It'll be this summer, sorry. So,
okay.
yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know, I would hate to turn down a community club that has come forward to do something. I don't know how much of the cost will fall onto the town, but certainly we move forward with playgrounds and skate parks in the past, and we just finished a community well-being plan, and one of the top things was kids needed more things to do, and I think this is something that would potentially offer that. I certainly know for certain that there's people from this community that travel to Blackfalds to go to their bike park, and all sorts of ages and stuff. So I would hate to see us turn this down at the very outset and make the plan. We don't know exactly what Rotary has to contribute. We know that there's likely CFIP grants available. Those go from up to 100,000, depending on the stream. The other stream is up to $1 million, I believe. So take a look at the Kinsman playgrounds that we did. The town paid the capital for those playgrounds, and the Kinsman put in their volunteer hours, and there was also a CFIP grant awarded for $100,000. So I'm very much in favor of moving forward, of seeing what this plan at least looks like. And I think any time that we can add an asset into the community, and there's a service club willing to kind of put together a legacy project, I think that's only a positive for us. Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, no, and so this is where I was, I guess my question to those that sit on, or administration as well, those, I think some of you sit on Rotary, is do we know what the commitment may be from Rotary as to, I'm being told, or we're being told $200,000 for a bike park of this size or whatever it's going to be. And I know that anything that we have done within the community, I'll give you an example, like $200,000 really doesn't go a long ways these days. You look at the skate park, was $1 million to build that skate park. So, I guess my question is to administration, Rotary, is that I don't see $200,000 is going to do it in my head. And what kind of grants are available through administration to apply to? Because that did come up in the previous meeting, previous couple weeks ago or whenever it was. But it's what that full commitment would be, not only from Rotary, but our part. Thanks.
Mayor Barclay, Councillor Heistad, again, I'm not going to put it back to the master plan, but that's kind of what that is what is the size of the project. You can build a $50,000 bike park, you can build a $1 million bike park. It's really based on the capacity of the capital to do it and the desire. It also could be built, it's likely the master plan will be outline phases. So you may want to develop a phase 1, $200,000 park, knowing that phase 2 is going to be at a certain time. So it's a best guess. Without the detail, it's really hard to project. It's again, you have and even on the funding side, Rotary don't know what they're willing to contribute. Is it, $10,000? Is it $200,000? Don't know at this point.
Okay, thanks. No, that's where I'm at. And truthfully, I'll tell council, I was thinking this plan is, I don't disagree with the plan, and I appreciate the debate on this. I do look at my thought was the big picture in 2025 with our budget, and that's where my head was at the last meeting. So, you know, I'm kind of perplexed where we're going to go, listening to the debate, but I appreciate administration being up front. Thank you.
Councillor Wing?
Thank you. Just one last question. Did we ask Rotary to share the cost of the master plan? Or is this purely on our own? And does it fit within the recreation and open space master plan? I'm confused about why we need two.
I'll start. Right now, the motion does not indicate funding request of the Rotary. We can certainly put that back to administration. Right now, administration asks or is recommending that be funded from operating reserve, but any expectation can be set based on your conversation. Based on the other plans, Director?
I guess it depends. Like the open spaces master plan is more set on ball diamonds, that bigger picture. And then also using the RC strategies master plan, expanding on that. You know, yes, we are looking at more of a specific bike park facility, but we will look into like we do utilize those reports to see what the public input was at that time, back in 2019, I think is when those reports were done. So I guess it's just a matter of, yeah, we saw this as an opportunity of partnership to help us along with the project. Not to say that, yeah, we pause this and just work on the open spaces master plan. They are unique towards each other, but.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so we have a motion on the table. I will ask who's in favor. Okay, and opposed? Okay.
Mayor
so-
Barclay, can I have my vote recorded, please?
No, you would have had to say that prior to the motion being made. Pardon me? That's fine. Okay, and we'll move on to 5.2, the community book exchange boxes.
Yes, Mayor Barclay. So we have in front of you a draft policy for a book exchange boxes on town lands policy. The program itself started back in 2021. The first location approved in Upper Aspen Heights. Since then, the town has seen growth and interest in the continued to expand the number of book exchange boxes throughout town. To date, we have 5 boxes located on town lands, 4 boxes on private lands, and 3 boxes inside local businesses. There has been a request for 2 more additional boxes to be located on town lands. This program is community-driven and maintained by local residents and businesses. The town is looking to formalize a procedure and agreement towards the boxes through this policy and provide a clear understanding of the responsibilities and maintenance of the boxes. So I will ask for any questions council might have.
Okay, thank you, Director Kennedy. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Heistad?
I'll make that motion that council approves the book exchange boxes on town lands policy 2024-002.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Wing?
Thank you. Actually, I had received some feedback from Brad Watson, our citizen champion of our program. So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Just for consistency's sake, the program is actually called Little Free Library, LFL, not Free Little Library. So if we're going to refer to it in the policy specifically as by that name, we should get it correct, I think. But perhaps for consistency's sake, we talk about it being a book exchange program because that seems to be sort of the dominant language. So use one or the other, or at least have it correct. So a couple of his questions just regarding the application process, because of course Brad's guiding lots of folks in the community around this. Application process number 7. Interested stewards must apply to the town in writing and include the design, materials, dimensions, and location of the book exchange box. So his comment or his question was, by this stage, the library is usually already constructed. So does the town wish in advance then to determine the shape, style, color, wood, that kind of thing? And if so, then it should be, the word proposed should come out and it should be, have an approved design before they apply in writing. So I guess the level of consultation or approval by the town in that point. And applications will be reviewed. He's wondering if it's possible to have within that in that point exactly what the process looks like. Like, is there an expected time frame? How soon? Of course, there's factors involved with decisions on locations. The one call should actually be a requirement in this policy as well, that the group is contacting one call before they determine a site. And the town staff might want the location adjusted for snow removal and grass cutting. So again, just perhaps a little more information around what that application process looks like. And then finally, the point 16 under stewards. Stewards are responsible for ensuring the book exchange program is stocked with appropriate reading material. So what is appropriate? Definition of what we're thinking around what is appropriate. Of course, there's that whole level of what is appropriate opens both the town and the steward up to potential complaints. And so objectionable material is somebody's responsibility, but in any event, his comment was, probably need a definition around what is appropriate. I think that was, the indemnification on Schedule A. The steward agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the town. So indemnifying the town is a huge responsibility for any community member. Certainly would not expect the town to pay for any damages, but a steward cannot take such a large risk. And so holding the town harmless seems more reasonable from a language perspective. That was Brad Watson's feedback. Thank you.
Sure. Councillor Wing, so I'll try and get them all of them.
Sorry, CEO Becker, did you want
Yes,
to?
does council wish to give direction to administration to engage with the organization to get this feedback formally?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously operational, this issue, so
Just
Yeah.
seek that through a resolution, please.
do you need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Okay, somebody please make a motion to have administration engage with Brad Watson then.
I make that motion, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Councillor Bates.
So do we still have a motion on the floor?
I think,
Or
yes,
we're going to,
we do, sorry, yes, forgot about that. Yeah,
which we shouldn't have had another motion if we had the first.
no, I know, yeah.
But I do have a question that might relate to either one. And that is, it came to me that it might be somewhat difficult to determine, and somebody, I'm not sure who, because the town isn't a person, decides what the removal criteria could be, and, relative to its condition. And would you normally try to give notice to the organization so they had a last chance before it got removed? Or like some of that stuff's, maybe that could be in the previous motion, maybe that could be part of the questioning?
Mayor Barclay, so what council's asking is the procedure. You're asking for procedure. Is that something that the governance is concerned about, is procedure? Is that more tasked to administration? Usually when there's something of condition through bylaw or anything associated with agreements, we have to make a sound decision based on, but usually it's an engagement with the party to explore, can you fix it up to reflect the best interest of the community or not? If it's not, then maybe it's removal, but I feel you're getting into the operational procedural side of things. That's my perspective.
Well, and the only reason I asked that question is related to the original motion, which was proposed, was without the answer to some of those things, you do open the town up to someone saying they removed it. And so you need some of the details are in that policy, and some of those details, I think, there probably should be a formal notification period if you're going to actually remove it. I don't know. I'm just making those suggestions, and
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is to rescind that first motion.
I'm happy
and-
to to wait and see the results of the first motion is where I'm at right now, but.
I think can we rescind the first motion, and then you can go back and discuss with Mr. Watson his issues, and then bring it back another day. Does that make sense?
Your proper process, Mayor Barclay, is the latter. So you start with your most recent motion. I'd say council focus in on the meeting with, we'll call him Brad Watson, but it's actually the organization for the minutes I'd recommend.
Okay.
So let's start there and then move into your initial motion. Then you can table,
Okay.
likely table until that further information comes back to you.
Okay, so we have the motion to engage with the organization?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's passed.
Okay.
Okay, and then the first motion, we will
I'd recommend table.
table.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do it, you need I'll recommend to table the original motion for the book exchange policy.
okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay. And we will move into 6.1, the Billboard digital sign with Director Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Apologize to council, the site plan and draft permit didn't make it into the version that was sent out of the agenda last week, but we will, so I'll go through those a little bit more thoroughly as we go through the item. So we're looking to present development permit application 24D-50 for council decision with respect to an electronic billboard sign. So the Innisfail District Chamber of Commerce has submitted an application for the construction of a new electronic billboard sign to replace the existing sign located in the same general vicinity. So the current sign is located within the Highway 2 right-of-way. The new sign will be located about 26 feet directly east within 4310 42nd Avenue, which is currently also utilized by Makespace storage for RV storage purposes. This property is owned by the province of Alberta, and the approval from Alberta Transportation has been received with respect to use of the property. So these lands are regulated under a direct control district in the land use bylaw. As per the MGA, a direct control district gives council the ability to regulate specific areas within which they can exercise particular control. Within the DCD, council may regulate and control the use and development of land or buildings in any manner they consider necessary. So no specific regulations have been created in the LUB related to this specific parcel. However, the bylaw does provide some guidance with respect to billboard signs. The municipal development plan indicates that these lands are intended for commercial purposes. So the subject property was rezoned from highway commercial to direct control back in 2011 to accommodate the reinstallation of the electronic billboard that was taken down during the Highway 2 construction work associated with the overpass. In 2020, further amendments to the LUB were made with respect to billboards and digital signage. So at that time, the amendments made were to permit that existing billboards could remain as is with no increase in size or conversion of traditional billboards to electronic, no additional billboard signage to be permitted in the community, and to require that new discretionary use permit approvals be obtained by property owners for any existing billboards on a site in conjunction with any application for development, redevelopment, expansion, or change of use. So at this time, it was determined that the chamber sign where it currently sits was located in the highway right-of-way and not subject to the land use bylaw, as it was within public property. The sign is now moving outside of that right-of-way onto private titled property, although it is still owned by the province. Although the property is not directly regulated due to the direct control zoning, the LUB does provide some specific regulation respecting billboards and digital signs. So the land use bylaw defines a billboard as a structure, primarily self-supporting, which is used for the display of third-party and/or on-site advertising, and does not include a reader board or digital sign. The land use bylaw defines a reader board or digital sign as one which provides changeable messaging through the use of electronically displayed messages or other similar means. So the bylaw then goes on to specify with respect to billboards that they are limited to the current 7 locations. So this does not include the current chamber sign located within the Highway 2 right-of-way. The bylaw gives a maximum area of 500 square feet, maximum height of 23 feet, setbacks from property boundaries, and separations from other signs. The bylaw also sets out that for billboards in other locations, they would only be approved for a 5-year period at a time, and that digital signs are prohibited from forming any part of a billboard sign. So, as the property is designated DCD, council may consider these regulations but is not bound by them. Any land use regulation typically focused on minimizing conflicting uses and developments, public safety, and community aesthetics. So the sign being proposed by the chamber is 10 feet by 35 feet, so 350 square feet, will be 24 feet in height, will have a setback of 1 meter to the east property line and 2 meters to the south. It is separated by greater than 50 meters to any existing freestanding and billboard signs, and it will have LED electronic faces on both sides. Administration in the draft development permit, when we go through, is recommending the inclusion of a condition limiting the permit through March 2039, which matches the provincial approval for the use of the site. So you can see on the map where the current chamber sign location is, just outside the property line into the highway right-of-way, the new billboard essentially being just inside that property line. There is another existing billboard at the south end of the storage facility lot. So then if you just scroll through the attachments, so there's draft development permit included, generally standard conditions with respect to development being in accordance with the plans, minimum holds times for electronic signs, and things specific to how the text is displayed. Alberta Transportation also has specific rules about how bright a sign can be and how quickly they can change and flash with respect to distracting drivers. And then essentially the validity through March 31st of 2039. You can just scroll down through the plans. So again, showing the location of the sign just inside that property. The faces of the sign will be tilted towards the highway. They won't be directly perpendicular to the highway. You can keep going. Yeah, general layout. You can go to the next one. Again, showing how the signs will be mounted to the center post. And then that's the approval received from Alberta Transportation with respect to moving the sign into the other property. So at this time, administration is recommending approval of the electronic billboard sign in accordance with the draft development permit.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Heistad.
The council approves development permit 24D-050 for the development of electronic billboard signs to be located at 4310 42nd Avenue Dial Street, subject to the conditions to the attached draft development permit.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion around this? It's been a long time coming. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Just a quick question. The existing billboard it's going to come down as soon as the new one is in place?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I didn't see it in there. I might have missed it. Just for reference, is it approximately the same size as the current one, or is it slightly bigger? Or a
It's
little?
larger.
But just slightly? It's just for visual.
The existing one's probably about 10 by 15, maybe 20, is my estimate looking at it. And this one will be so longer, about the same height though.
Okay, and that's not, I don't think it's pertinent to my vote. I support this, I think. But I see the one point there, billboards are limited to the 7 current billboards. Have we done a count recently? Because I have a feeling one of them got destroyed by wind and was never replaced, and I'm
I
not
think we're down 2 actually,
down to.
from that 7.
So at some point, do we go back to that party and ask them if they want to retain that, or if that opens a potential for a billboard to somebody else, or how does that work? Just,
I guess at this point, if someone wanted to rebuild in those existing locations, then they could still come back
Right.
through this bylaw process. Currently, the way the bylaw is structured, they wouldn't be contemplated in any new locations.
okay, no, thank you for that information. That, like I said, it's not really pertinent to this, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, fully supportive. I think that's very important to the chamber revenue base. So we have a motion. All in favor? Okay, carry unanimously. All right, and we will move on to 6.2. I'm going to let Deputy Mayor Dunham take over, and Councillor Bates and I will recuse ourselves because we're both shareholders at the golf course, and this seems to be an item that may impact revenues at the golf course, expenses, so we will see you soon.
What? We won't let you miss the next one.
All right, so over to Director Jenkins.
All right. Okay, so this is following up. We had a delegation a couple of weeks ago from the golf course, as well as a motion from the Community Services Standing Committee. So back on May 1st, the Community Services Standing Committee made a recommendation that council consider the Innisfail Golf Club 2024 Canadian Junior Boys Golf Championship application. So the application outlines the request for support for the event that will bring over 150 participants. The funding will be utilized to support volunteer meals, hats, and shirts with a total request of $9,200. The Innisfail Golf Club has indicated that the town's logo could be included on sponsorship items if decision received prior to ordering. The golf course so then appeared as a delegation on May 13th to highlight the event and request sponsorship. At the meeting, there was further discussion from council around the community grant policy and the need for improved clarity around eligibility and intent. The policy will be brought back for council consideration next month, but in the interim, administration is requesting council direction regarding its desire to support the golf club request and the 2024 tournament, either through general sponsorship, so that would be just through an operating expense, or through the community grant budget, of which $7,000 of the annual $13,000 remains. So the community grant program distributes $13,000 annually through the committee, provides financial assistance to community organizations for programs, special events, and initiatives which enhance recreation, sport, and culture opportunities in the community. So they can fall under arts and culture, parks and environment, or recreation and leisure are the general categories, and the policy identifies that proposals must meet one of the following: financial need, held for the enjoyment and benefit of the general public, and or recognize significant milestone events. So to date in 2024, 8 submissions have been reviewed by the committee, representing a total ask of $21,725. 4 organizations have received funding: the Art Club, Fish and Game, Historical Village, and the Local Artisans. They have also forwarded 2 groups to council for consideration: the Grinchmas and this golf championship event. So as mentioned, there's still $7,000 remaining in this year's budget for that program. As part of the committee's deliberations, again, they made the motion, and then just for council's information, to date, council's provided direct sponsorship to the Danes Ranch Rodeo, the Harvest Fest, and the Rotary Golf Tournament. So administration is recommending that council consider support through the community grant program itself, but that's up to council's consideration.
Thank you, Director Jenkins. So I guess we have a recommended motion on the table, so would it be appropriate for us to make the motion then open for discussion, or should we look at the recommended motion by administration, which is at the bottom about putting it back to the CSSC?
Deputy Mayor, as per your question, there's a blank in the motion, so you may want to perhaps just look at filling that void from 0 to whatever amount you
Okay.
wish, and then proceed to the motion.
Thank you very much, CO Becker. If I could please have somebody make the recommended motion.
I'll make a motion. Do you want me to put a number in there? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I'd say put a number there before you make the motion.
You know what, I want to ask clarity, right? Because I was at that meeting, the community services meeting, where we put it back to the council. And the reason being was because of the, we only had so many funds, right, in that fund itself. And at that meeting, we felt it was more appropriate to come back to here, right? So in this motion, is the funds going to come out of that that granting program? That's what I want to clarity.
That's administration's recommendation, is that it comes out of the community grant. We feel it does fit with the eligibility and the
Okay.
intent, but that, again, is for council's.
And that's great. I'm okay, I just wanted direction and clarity on that. And I'll make a motion, I'll put a number in there. How's that? That council provides sponsorship to the Innisfil Golf Club for 2024 Canadian Junior Boys Golf Championship in the amount of $3,000 to be funded from the 2020 operating budget community grant. There we go.
Thank you, Councillor Heistad. So I guess we'll open up now, because obviously the recommended motion was to put it back, so we now have a number filled in there, so now we
So
are
you
going
enter
to
your
discuss.
question.
Yeah. Anyone? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunham. I fully support the motion, but I was looking at, as far as the number, I wasn't quite as generous as Councillor Heistad. I was leaning towards 2,500, and the reason being is that's what we've sponsored, the Danes Rodeo, and we look at what we sponsored the Eagles over time. So I think, in fairness, equality across the board, I would like to see 2,500 if that works for Councillor Heistad in a friendly amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Heistad.
Yeah, as to process, I could concur with my colleague, Councillor Harrison, to round that out at $2,500, if we can make that amendment on that.
CO Becker, is there an opportunity for us to amend that motion to 2,500?
Yeah, the one who presented the motion, I'm fine with 2,500 to begin the debate,
Okay.
right? So.
We're amended to 2,500.
Oh, I was gonna say, can I make a comment before you change the number?
Absolutely.
So when we talked previously, and you can see in the golf clubs, in their proposal, that they had an amount of $3,200 that would support volunteer meals. They had hats for $2,000 and shirts for $4,000. So if you wanted to allocate and be specific about hats or something like that, you could pick one of those dollar values as well. Or you could even if it was $2,500, you could say $2,000 towards hats and $500, because there is potential for logo inclusion on those items.
Thank you, Director Jenkins. Back to the original.
Just to comment, the reason I suggested the 2,500 was because of the equality, and also if we looked at their brochure there, I think the gold sponsor, the 2,500 gives, the gold level, practice tee supporter, so that's what they're looking for. I don't know if we want to get into dictating how many hats they're going to buy, but Certainly be up to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's just stick with the number 2,500. It's just easier to debate and go from there. Thanks.
Councillor Wing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, just a comment, first of all, I think it's been a little confusing because we have a sponsorship package. We have their application for through the community grant, and they're different. They're different purposes. For me, my most important concern isn't actually on the amount, it's around how we're going to be recognized. I want the town of Innisfil to have good presence in this national tournament. I think it's really important. And so I'm not as concerned about, what we've granted to the rodeo, for example, from that perspective. I think it's worthwhile. When we talked about, in their grant proposal, they talked about meals, hats, and shirts, the hats and shirts for sure would be really logical places for us to have our logo placed. Yeah, so, I think, even $2,000 for the hats, and every single hat has a Town of Innisfil logo. To me, that's what we're paying for. This is about recognition for the town. So, again, I think it was a little confusing because we had two different budgets essentially. But for me, I'd like to see just giving them if we go back to the gold level sponsor, actually we get very little recognition at that perspective. Yeah, we get, there's a banner and there's an ad in the program, but yeah. Anyway, that's just my thoughts, is if we can actually tie that money to something that gives us adequate recognition, I would appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Wing. I guess my opinion, I agree on the same thing. It was very confusing, and definitely if we have an opportunity to have that exposure on the hats, I think that's a really good idea for us as well. And as previously discussed, there is opportunities for them for substantial other sponsorship out of the town. So I'm full support of the motion. Councillor Messaros.
25.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm wondering, do we have a say in what gets put on the volunteer hats, or?
Through the community grant, because they've applied like this, yes, we can say
Okay.
$2,500 with $2,000 to go towards hats.
I mean, in terms of advertising on the hats.
So we have had contact with the golf course, and they haven't ordered them yet, or they hadn't as of a week or so ago, so that we could have a logo included on those items.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. I guess then we'll probably be looking for an amendment to the motion, because if not, we're going to have an additional $500 floating out there. Correct?
Well, if you do it the way the motion is, that it's, $2,500 from the community grant, I don't know, we can specify that it's supposed to be for the hats and
Okay, in that
and
case.
other expenses, I guess, as
Okay.
they put the rest of the volunteer meals or
Then we'll
something
leave
like
that to you.
Okay.
All right, then we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move into 6.3 and the Dolphins request with Director Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So following up from the conversation last week with respect to the Dolphins Swim Club request to look at fee waiver or reduction for their current season. Again, just a bit of a recap. They utilize the pool May through August 15th, practicing from 5 to 7, Monday to Friday, and then a one-day, full-day meet on July 27th. Requested consideration of relief of their 2024 pool fees by 50% for practice times and 100% for their meet day. Projecting booking permits at around $11,000 for this year. So in response to some of the questions council had last week, as of 2024, the group has a total of 42 club registrants. You can go back, going back to 2018, where they had 75, so you can sort of see 42, 45, 49, 51, 75, 91, and then 75 going back. So definitely registration numbers are, have gone down, sort of in that post-COVID times. With respects to club expenses, total registration fees being $22,700. This is approximately $540 registration fee per swimmer. So it ranges, it's $450 for the youngest kids who swim half an hour at a time, $550 for the 1 hour group, and then $650 for the 1.5 hour group. And this is a fee increase from last year. Their total fees paid to Swim Alberta, $3,582. Coach wages, $19,500. Pool fees, they're estimating $13,000. And then council had asked a bit, actually before I leave that one, I just did a little bit of research at some other summer swim club programs. So they are in line or a little bit high, actually. The Lacombe Dolphin Swim Club registration fees are $400 to $500. Red Deer Marlins are $425 to $525, and the Ponoka Gators are $455 is what their registration fees are. For sponsorship, the club utilizes a donation letter, which they did provide to me. It's basically just it's a standard form letter requesting sponsorship, and they have received donations from 9 businesses, 6 of those being monetary donations. With respects to any grants applied for, they had applied through an Every Kids Can Play, but they were not successful due to being considered under the Swim Canada umbrella. They had applied through Red Deer County, and were also not successful. They had indicated they had applied for the town community grant, but they would also likely not be eligible for that as well because it's an annual tournament. The question respecting, reducing the number of lanes being used during their group, they did provide a bit of an explanation just for how they rotate through. It's in general, utilizing the lanes keeps the flow of practices and drills. If they used a lower number of lanes, there would be a lot of idle time as kids would be waiting longer for their turns. In busier seasons, they had utilized 3 hours of pool time daily, so they had already reduced their rental to adjust for swimmers. So again, for council in 2023, the club approached council with a request for rental fee waiver. In June 23, council approved that charges be maintained, but that late penalties be waived until December 2025. This would allow the club to fundraise and recover without incurring additional penalties. The club has currently paid about 50% of their 2023 charges and have a current balance of $6,133. All our local community sport organizations are under similar strain with increased costs and uncertain participation numbers. Administration's suggestion is that the 2024 charges be treated the same as the 2023 charges with the waiver of the penalties until the end of 2025. As we're already halfway through the season essentially. However, it is suggested that prior to any 2025 bookings being approved, that they provide, evidence or confirmation that they have sufficient revenue or swim registration that they're going to be able to start to move in the right direction.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I move that council approves the waiver of invoice penalties for the 2024 season through December 31st, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any comments? Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I have a question for Director Jenkins. So the $6,000 from last year that has not been paid, penalty aside, what is the plan for them to catch up on what they currently owe us? And how will they achieve that as well as pay their bill this year?
At this point, they haven't set out a schedule of payment for us. They're continuing to fundraise, and I believe have anticipation of a casino potentially in 2025 is when they would be eligible next for that. But I think apart from being able to get those registration numbers back up to where they once were, it will be a challenge.
Anybody else? Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, no, I was just curious as the numbers have been going down. Did they talk about that or some of those concerns that they have in the community or why it may be happening? Just because I've seen the evolution of the dolphins kind of spike and then come down. And is it, have they?
Beyond sort of the, post-COVID, getting people back into those types of activities, I don't have anything concrete really there.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Thank you, Councillor Wing. That was one of my questions. But I mean, I guess if you look at the pattern or the direction of this, it just really kind of forecasts for not a very good couple of years ahead. So at what point or where does that put them in a few years? Is it just continually coming back to us to be excused from their charges? I think it was also mentioned at the last time this was brought up that nobody wants to see any of our clubs, especially our sports clubs, fail. And I don't think we're here to sort of make that happen, but I think we really need to look at, if we excuse this, what's next. As the recommended motion of waiving the invoice penalties, I will not support that at this time. I would like to look at another motion, maybe deferring penalties, but as the motion stands, it's not something that I can support.
Okay, Councillor Bates?
I guess I'm not aware that, and maybe Director is, as to whether or not they've ever done a casino before, but that could be.
I believe they do the casinos as often as they are able to.
Because, yeah, that's a big revenue source usually, but if they've done it in the past, that doesn't bode well for their future. I vaguely remember way back when basically the pool was built to a great extent. It was a support of dolphins to actually build the pool to start with. So it's very, it's a struggle to figure out what they should do. I don't know if they have any means of support from any other local clubs or how well they've communicated to potential sponsors or sponsors, just how needy they are. I don't have answers. I can support the motion, but not sure at some point we're going to have to face that problem for sure.
Councillor Messaros?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Well, given that our rental rates are a little bit higher than some of the other rates that you've looked into, and we're only recommending to waive the invoice penalties. We're not recommending to waive the rental charges. And given that it's a young group, young swim club, kids, I would be supporting the motion.
And I'll just clarify, so the comparisons to Lacombe and Ponoka, that was the registration fee for swim club. Our pool rental rates are quite low in comparison typically to other communities. And you can, even seeing within their expenses, we aren't even the primary expense to the club as the pool rental.
Okay, so that's what our club is charging as opposed to the other clubs?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
That's their
Okay,
registration
yeah.
fee charge. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, no, I'm okay for, with this motion as is. I see it as there is some things that need to be in order. And an example is, it is an old pool, number one. Number two, what I've seen with curling, youth curling in town, they have a recipe, there's something that they're doing which is right, that maybe they can help, you know, give them some advice. That's, and Megan, you got lots of stuff on your plate, but I've seen curling in this town boom, right? And it's something that they're doing and how they're working with them. I'm okay for it this year. It's similar to the skateboard park. Once you build something, kids are going to be attracted to it. I think there's an opportunity with our new pool, whatever direction that we do have, I could see dolphins blowing up again. But it's all about timing. So I'm good with letting this go for this year, and then we'll go from there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wing?
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. Just one final question. What is our policy regarding unpaid fees? So do we write them off at the end of the year? Do we carry them forward to the following years? And the motion deals with penalties, but we're not talking at all about the fact that they owe us money and will probably continue to build that deficit with us.
I'm not sure if you want to, okay.
So to Councillor Wing's question, so really that's part of the request of the Dolphins. Administration does not have the ability to waive penalty or fees, so the expectation today is that they pay their bill. So going into, the season will proceed as it is, but there will be administrative conversation. Through my direction, there needs to be at least a plan, a really firm plan on payment, with a guarantee of paying prior to then entering the next season. So we've dealt with this in other organizations, user groups, that they need to eliminate their debt. And if there's a plan, that's great. Does it have to be zero on day one? Likely not, but there has to be a guarantee that the town will receive those fees.
Do we need that in the motion then, CAO, or not?
No, Councillor Wing. So I think following your direction today, it'll be on to the director to communicate, but my direction to the director will be make sure it's communicated that the expectation is this, that there is an agreement to pay those fees back prior to starting the next season. Seeking all payment primarily, but if they cannot achieve zero balance, then we need to have a payback plan. But that'll be more my directive, unless you think differently.
Councillor Dunham?
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. And my apologies to everyone. I got my wires crossed. As the motion reads that we're waiving the invoice penalties, I'm in support of that. I just got myself crossed over with what the original request was. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm also wondering, Director Jenkins, if you could reach out or have them reach out to the Ministry of Sport, Tourism and Sport, and maybe have a discussion. I know there have been grants in the past, operating grants for nonprofit sporting organizations. Whether those are still on the table or not, I don't know, but that may be an avenue, and I do know that they're actively fundraising right now, so hopefully, and they will get a casino. I think those come up every 3 to 4 years, but so we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Nobody? Okay, carried unanimously. And we will move into 7.1, correspondence. So we did the Seniors Week declaration already, but we have a new one today from Pride asking for proclamation for designating June as Pride Month. So I'll please ask somebody to make a motion. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I move that we proclaim June as Pride Month here in Innisfail.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, carry unanimously. I think that is it for correspondence.
No, just
sorry.
just a comment. Thank you, Mayor Barclay. And it's initiative number 4, the tree planting initiative. It was added late, and I apologize for that. But it came out through the FCM's Green Fund. And I was just wondering if there's any appetite. There is a number of grants available. It appears to have lots of money attached to it for tree planting projects within your community. And I know we've been looking at a tree management plan. We have a tree management plan. We're looking at replacing trees. I know the school's been involved with some of the work they've done on the old landfill site. I was just wondering if there would be an appetite to investigate further the opportunities to access this grant through FCM. I put that to council.
I'll put it through to Director Kennedy,
Sure.
because he'll know
Council,
more about this.
It is on our radar.
Oh, okay.
So we are looking at what we have in our tree planting plan and how this suits this type of grant. I know Allison's already reached out to get some more information on how it fits what our tree planting plan is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So if there's nothing further, I'll just have somebody make a motion that we accept the correspondence as information. Councillor Wing.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. I'll make that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
I have to be quicker.
You do? Catch you next time. All right. We'll move into council reports, and we'll begin with Councillor Heistad.
You know what? We're supposed to send in a report on Wednesday, right? I think we were at an event on Wednesday. That's my excuse. How's that? No, the only thing that I'll report on is last week was Cape. Attended Cape, and everything else I can put in. But I thought last week was a really good opportunity with the Cape event. I was really impressed with it. And yeah, looking forward to the next time we attend. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Previous week I was away. Last week, obviously, AMP meeting. We have an ACDEV meeting, and I was unable to join the Cape meeting. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I, as well, just had the Cape Premier's Dinner meeting last week, and it was an excellent event. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Just will echo my activities at the Cape dinner. I actually had the opportunity to sit with MLA Jason Steffen from Red Deer South for the dinner. So he's he went to school in Innisfil when he was a child, so he's deeply connected to our community. This week sees Innisfil Public Library monthly board meeting, and I hope to attend the Diamond 7 grand opening on Saturday. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I also attended the Cape dinner, and I must say that the Cape organizing crew and the whole organization put on a top-notch event. I think it was well received. A great networking event. Lots of rubbing shoulders there. So that was Cape. I also plan on attending the opening of Diamond 7. Thank you.
Bring your baseball gloves. Okay, Councillor Bates.
Yeah, so last week was pretty light. I participated in MPC. We did approve a sign for the new strip mall. I also bring attention to, we'd talked about it before, but the Water Commission, I think, is centering in on June 19th as that potential informal member gathering and tour. And I think we've received invitations, and actually, when I was participating, receiving some information where one of the commission members asked for it to be longer so they could get here. And I think it came through later as being an hour longer. And then I'm just looking for calibration on reports. I guess I realized sitting here that I should have submitted, even though it would have been extremely brief. It's council meetings that we have the reports at, but I think I had one in last week for AMP, so I guess maybe I got out of sync. It's council meetings, is that correct? That we should be having our reports, so thank you.
Right, thank you. And my report's in the agenda, so open mic, we don't have to worry about that today. Upcoming events. Just Councillor Bates.
It seems like we keep trying to have the Water Commission meetings on the regular basis, and then we get confused. We are not meeting on the 12th of June. We're meeting on the morning of the 19th. So I just make that correction. And I'll keep trying to get them back to, I'll call myself as the failure on that one. But
For the record.
Okay, I just have somebody please make a motion to accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor Harrison.
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right. We'll now have a meeting or a motion to go in camera, please. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I move that we move in camera.
Okay, all in favor?